God. Welcome back to the Convo Couch, everyone. I am Pasta Jardula.
And I'm Fiorella.
And Johnny Sue is spilling the
I am Pasta Jardula. I am Pasta Jardula.
And I'm Fiorella.
I don't know.
Fiorella,
Like,
how
you're such a
badly did you
showman.
miss me for the 2 days I was gone?
Not very much, fam.
Bullstein. Everybody knows out there. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for following the Convo Couch. If you're on the YouTube, I want to thank you for your Patreons and your what do you call them? Super Chats ahead of time. You guys have been awesome with that. Really, we were going over it the other day. We can't thank you enough. And the Patreons were coming close to 100, so help us out. Now, if you're not on the ROKFIN, ROKFIN, get your behind over there.
Join it. It's free.
It is free to join.
Yeah.
There is some premium content out there, and if you can endorse us for $9.99.
Who's on ROKFIN?
I'll take a look. Let's take a look over here.
Okay.
Free Thinking Media. We got Graham Elwood, Ron Placone, Nico House, Kim Iverson. We have Jimmy Dornow. We have Jackson Facts. We have The Last Vagabond. His name is Christian. I believe Dick Medhurst is here too as well.
Known as Richard.
Yep. And we have Jason Burmis, Action for Assange, and more.
And more.
Did I miss anybody? Ian Schlockman?
I
said Kim Iverson.
Tina Desiree Berg, District 34. Who else? Oh,
Tina, I miss Tina. Oh,
Status
my
Quo.
Lord. Status Quo.
Who else?
Guys, I'm so sorry for missing you.
So
Right.
many people.
Speaking of missing, let's
Yes.
talk about what's going on over here. Let me get the ROKFIN up. Guys, going over and join our ROKFIN. I know. Hey, Jackie, what's up? We love you. And 3 viewers over there. I have shirts. I still haven't mailed out. I have to go pick them up. We're going to mail them out. I run the shirt program. There'll be 4 of them going out. Somebody also, Gamer for Life. I think he didn't get his shirt. Something happened. So I'll have to send you another one. Gamer for Life. Touch us back again. Give us your name. Maybe, I put Gamer for Life in the, who knows what happened with it. Yeah, all right, we'll get back at you, Gamer for Life. Go over and join the ROKFIN today. Help us out. We're building that platform from the ground up. Fam, we got a bunch of people in here. What's going on here? What are we starting off with today?
Okay, so I'm sorry, but Fredo's really been disappointing.
Fam, this is Fredo's brother.
Okay, well he's a new Fredo.
He's the new Fredo.
He decided to tell a bunch of protesters that they should just stop protesting. And I'm talking about Andrew Cuomo, of course. And he basically went on this interview and he said, people are still out protesting. You don't need to protest. You won. You won. You accomplished your goal. Society says you're right. The police need systemic reform. It's just really condescending, Pasta. Society says you're right. You won. You're done. When, as we're going to be seeing today, there are more killings. Yeah. Of unarmed black people. I mean, whatever people do, it doesn't matter who you are or what you do. Even if you've committed a crime, you shouldn't be murdered without having a fair trial. And that's the whole point, that police are getting away with murdering people or being extremely brutal with them. And here goes Andrew Cuomo telling people that they won. There hasn't been anything really. I mean, Minneapolis is the closest thing we've come close to.
What is he saying? We won. What did we win?
I'm so confused.
Has there been a conviction yet? Because I've seen arrests before in the past, but I haven't seen a conviction.
No, just arrests. That's the thing. You can arrest all kinds of people, but at the end of the day, if you're going to let them go, if they're going to be able to get their jobs again, you're not really changing anything. And so this is why people are still talking about defunding the police. This is why people are still so adamant, because the system is so corrupt that you can't just cut the arm off. You have to go after the deeper injury.
You'll have to go after its heart, and you have to eat it out with a knife and a fork and stuff. You have to go to the serious systemic change. We have to really change things from the inside.
And if you watched General Hospital or Grey's Anatomy or all that crap, you would know, but you don't. So.
Well, I listen to you, fam. You're the TV doctor. You're a certified TV doctor.
Obviously.
So I listen to you. But before we get to the next part of this here like that, I think we should also eventually talk about what we need to really get and what's going on, how it's being co-opted, this whole situation. Sure. Where does the movement go from here and stuff? Because a lot of people go, what's the next step?
Right.
So,
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there are people trying to co-opt it. It doesn't mean it's not real. It just means there are people like in the Democratic Party that are trying to co-opt it. Kamala Harris has come out and said a few, symbolic bullshit words on Twitter. Obama, another one. We're going to talk about Obama.
Yeah, of course. We have to.
But we have an opportunity to get these people to open up and understand who the real problem is. So we're pretty much in competition with the establishment right now. We have to really educate people on what's really the problem and what's really going on. Because if we just say, oh, this isn't real, this is getting co-opted, then what we're saying never gets heard. A lot of these people coming into this, they're just new. This is their first protest. They have never really been political before. So this is our opportunity to guide them. And I think more than ever, our voices have been strong.
You know, when Cuomo says he declares victory after the passage of the police reform package, no, victory for me is getting him out of office. Getting the elites out of office. Andrew Cuomo takes more money from more billionaires than any politician on the planet. Almost half of the billionaires on the planet give money to Andrew Cuomo. We did a story on this. We showed that it's disgusting. So for real reform, real victory is defeating him and getting somebody like a Cynthia Nixon.
Because he is like he works with the corruption within the police department. Yeah. So until you get those big fish out of there,
the people who actually benefit and profit from people being jailed, Cuomo takes their money.
100%. So fam, as you know, there have been other shootings and murders that have come to fruition, right? And so some of these are happening all over the country. Majorly right now, we're looking at 3 different cases. We're looking at Atlanta, Georgia. We're looking at Victorville, right here in California, and Palmdale. So let's start with Atlanta, Georgia. Okay, so there was the police shooting of this unarmed man, and it was ruled a homicide. Okay, it was ruled a homicide right away because it was caught on video. And we're going to play the video here in a minute. And we're going to warn you guys, it's a little tough to watch always seeing somebody get shot at, but let me go down over here. This is in Fulton County, Atlanta, and the medical examiner's office, it's all the way at the bottom, Johnny, has ruled this death a homicide. It is Rayshard Brooks. Okay, that's his name, Rayshard Brooks. And the autopsy conducted showed that he died from blood loss from 2 gunshot wounds. And he was 27 years old. And what happened was that he fell asleep and he had parked his car as if he was going through the drive-thru, and he had fell asleep in the drive-thru area at Wendy's. So the Wendy's employee called the police and said, hey, there's a man here that fell asleep. And the police came, they performed a sobriety test, and he failed the sobriety test. And then they tased him, right? And he tried to run and get away. Now, here's the thing. Obviously, you shouldn't be running from a cop, but here's the thing. If I'm a black man and I'm seeing what's happening in America, I'm going to think I'm dying tonight, right? Like, I understand, like, the fear. I can't even begin to understand, but I can see where that's coming from.
You got the Matt Johnson one up. You got the one right here. You had the 205.
It's 205 Brooks shooting declared.
Yeah. That's when they talk to him, right? Right before they handcuff him?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you go up a little bit, it's 205, John.
Sorry, there's a lot on that. And so the officers, of course, were saying that they feared for their life because he ran off with a weapon. He ran off with a weapon, but the weapon, the taser, the tasers are not in Georgia. In Georgia in particular, they're not counted as weapons. Okay, they're not lethal weapons. So you can't have it both ways, is what they say. So let's just play the video to give you guys a clue as to how this went. Got it.
Okay. Go ahead, fam. I mean, this is what I saw this before. I mean, the things that I question too as well is that did they have to really arrest him if he pulled into a spot?
Well, even if they arrested him, they didn't have to kill him, right? Like they could have just detained him, like done anything else but shooting him in the back, right? And then you're seeing his interaction with the officer. There he goes. Then they're tasing him. He's trying to get away. He takes a taser, runs off. And then that's when they shoot him, and you guys will see it here.
Wow.
Okay, so you guys can see that they're talking about, he's going to talk about the taser right now, how it's not considered a weapon, lethal weapon.
And it's really, I mean, when people get tased, they can fall down, they can have a fucking seizure, they can hit their heads really hard. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, but I understand, like, I'm a black man in Atlanta, Georgia. Now we know what happens in Georgia. I mean, we've Nico House can talk to you about Georgia and how that is,
Yeah.
And so I understand why running away. Obviously, it wasn't the best thing to do. Yeah. But either way,
so they're saying he ran with the taser, and that's why they shot him
for their life because
he had a taser and stuff.
But the lawyer is arguing, but this isn't considered a deadly weapon, and officers all the time argue that it's not a deadly weapon because they're the ones using it on people.
But they tase people all the time, and it's bullshit, and they shouldn't be able to. It's so weird because we had that whole tasing phase where we saw kids across America for no reason just getting tased.
Yeah.
And we had a situation where somebody died from a taser. He got tased so many times.
Yeah.
So it's like, like you said, you can't have it both ways. The guy told him, it's plain and simple. Is it a deadly weapon or not? You say it's not a deadly weapon, you can use it all the time with no repercussions. But now, when a guy gets it, you want to say it's a deadly weapon. So I understand that now.
Yeah, that's a really good legal argument for the prosecution.
Can't have it both ways, he said.
Exactly. So another thing that happened was, of course, the protesters started really going after the police officers. Then they took over the highways, they stopped traffic, and there was a Wendy's that was burned. Okay. Yeah. So the Wendy's was burned and people were cheering and excited, and it was kind of a symbolic thing. But what actually happened was that the person that actually burned the Wendy's turned out to be a white woman. And there's video here of her burning the Wendy's, which, I mean, I don't think anybody's against that. I mean, at this point, but a lot of people were blaming the protesters. And it says video appears to show white women setting fire to Wendy's in Atlanta, where Rayshard Brooks was killed, as black protesters shout, "It wasn't us," and cops offer $10,000 to track her down. So it's just kind of funny that it turned out to be this white woman.
Look at this white girl. Look at the white girl trying to set on fire. Look at the white girl trying to burn down the Wendy's. This wasn't us. This wasn't us.
So it's just funny. I mean, if it's just funny. It's just funny. But
that's it's such a stupid slippery slope too, as well. She could have been done again at the behest of anybody. You know what I'm saying? But it's dumb. But we witnessed a lot of that stuff where we saw a lot of the people, a lot of the mainstream media in the very beginning, a lot of the police trying to blame the actual Black Lives Matter protesters and organizers and say they're the ones who are inciting looting when, in fact, they were stopping the looting, whatnot. So, I mean,
And so this brings me to Victorville, California, which is, I don't know, maybe like what, an hour and 20 hour?
About an hour and 25.
Hour and 20 something away from here.
Victorville is
It's between
dirty.
Vegas and here. It's between like Vegas and here, a little closer to here than Vegas, but it's still pretty much up there.
It's on the way there.
And it's a lot of suburbs, a lot of houses like that. And of course, they initially had ruled this death a homicide. Okay, they had said that this man was found in a tree, and he was found hanging in this tree. And
they said it was a suicide.
Yeah, but this is 2 weeks after they found his body near the Victorville City Library, and this is San Bernardino County, so this is not LA County. And they were saying they investigated. There was no indications at the scene that suggested foul play, but the way the cause and manner of the death are still pending. And I just wanted to point out that the LA Times had this report that the family also said they were told that Harsh, who was the one that was murdered, was 6'3", wasn't dangling from the tree, and that there was blood on his shirt. At the same time, there did not appear to be any evidence at the scene to suggest a struggle. They also noted that his body at the San Bernardino County Coroner's Office, his body sat there for 12 days.
That's the part that's really puzzling. I mean, as a certified TV doctor, is a body sitting in a coroner's office for 12 days?
No, that's not normal. Especially if right away they ruled it a suicide, and then they kept the body for 12 days. So they're trying to figure out how to, it really instills distrust in the police, and they're denying that there was any foul play right now in Victorville. So it's interesting because this one didn't get a lot of media attention at all until Palmdale came out. So the gentleman that was murdered in Palmdale, that was the one where they started looking and realizing, oh my God, there was another one. So as people were realizing that there was another man murdered in Palmdale, they also saw another lynching in Victorville. So even though this happened after the Victorville, this was the one that led to people actually knowing about it. And so this is in LA County, of course, and people are still looking for answers. His name was Robert Fuller, and his body was found Wednesday in the Ponsiticlan. I don't know what that.
Where?
Ponsiticlan Square. It's like what is
that word?
I don't know. I don't know how to say it, but it was in Palmdale, and it was deemed a likely suicide again, based on the preliminary findings and
outside City Hall.
Yeah, which is to me a red flag right away, right?
Sorry,
outside
my mic was off. It was outside City Hall.
Okay,
I went with Tina actually.
Okay, you guys went down there and saw this stuff. You got pictures and stuff to show us, Johnny?
Yeah, I got some video here.
All right.
This is when we first arrived in the car looking for parking. People were marching.
Together we are. Together we are. Are we gonna let fear overtake us? No. Are we gonna give up? No. What do we want? Justice. 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 Name Robert. Forward. Forward. Forward.
Yeah, there was a lot of emotions. I captured a lot on my the new camera, but I left that footage with Tina actually. But here's some footage I captured with my phone. So this protest, started with like this group of people. It was about like 150, 200 people, nearing 300. And then another group of protesters actually came through and joined them. And they were Black Lives Matter protesters.
We gotta show up. And not just show up here by daylight. We gotta protest by day, and we gotta do our homework by night.
And the crowd was huge.
Yeah.
So that's when there was like thousands of people out there. They decided to go marching, and then that's when police went to the sheriff department showed up with riot shield gear and the helicopter swirling around. And I have that footage in the other camera, but I had got the chance to interview an anonymous woman who was talking to mainstream media, telling them that the sheriffs aren't doing a good enough investigation into this. So let's listen to what she says.
Owners of those businesses, they tell me it has been taped over, and that one of the owners had reviewed the video and saw cars driving by between midnight and 5 a.m. And if we had seen those cars and could identify those cars, maybe somebody in those cars saw something. Maybe somebody in those cars participated in this.
Right.
That would have been huge.
So when they originally came out with the story, they said that there was no cameras?
They said there was no video, and I don't fault them for that, but they should have been more specific. Maybe there's no video in the park. Maybe there's no video right where this happened. But I understand that. That's not the question. The question is there any video within a certain radius, that would identify these people or identify him coming alone that would have solved this? And instead they said, no video, and they throw their hands up in the air and they stop. And that's not how you investigate either a suicide or a murder. You don't stop just because there's no camera pointing at that tree.
So the investigation, you're saying, is poor right now on the behalf of the sheriff department, basically.
If I were investigating a death, I would have closed down the scene and canvassed the area, and I believe that to be proper protocol. And if the sheriffs canvassed the area and decided nothing was important to them, then maybe this death isn't important to them.
Thank you so much. So basically, the business owners had video, but the sheriffs didn't even go on the first day. Like, they didn't go to any of these businesses. And then, you know what else is another thing? Is that on Twitter, there's a border soups on Twitter. A day after Robert Fuller was found hanging from a tree in Palmdale. Instead of using Twitter to ask if anyone saw anything or ask local businesses to save their security footage, the LA sheriffs in Palmdale were trying to find the owner of this dog. If anyone lost a dog, please contact the Palmdale Sheriff's Station. This little guy walked up into the front door of our lobby and he doesn't have a collar.
Oh, God.
Okay.
I got to go see Alex Villanueva, don't I? We got to go speak to Alex Villanueva.
Well, they had a press conference today, but really quickly, Johnny, I just want to say there is the one thing I wanted to read from that report was that there are ties to between police and neo-Nazi groups being reported.
Now, yes. So Tina was telling me that the Peckerwoods are a big dominant neo-Nazi group out there.
Right.
Now, Tina actually found some protesters who said that they saw a white man who had the black-white stripe and then a cursive P jacket on, and he was watching from afar the protest. But, that's just really speculation of what that was.
Allison I says, hi, fam. Thanks for the coverage. Great coverage, Johnny. Way to get down there with Tina. And thank you, Tina, for getting down there and getting those opinions, what's going on. I think a lot, we have to find out a lot remains to be seen. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times I think that these things are like more sinister than just race. You know what I'm saying? I believe that a lot of these groups are paid off to do these things to try to spark something. Like the oligarchs, the elites might be like, maybe it is just straight hate and they just hung somebody because they hate them. Yeah. We don't know, but a lot of times it seems like these things are very calculated and it's fucking kind of weird. And in the way the police department is ignoring people's footage that can see all these cars or anything that went on.
I just want to know what would happen if we found like a white woman hanging from a tree. I mean, let's be honest here. There's obvious racial motivations driving this, and like like lynching historically, like that's something that happened in America that not that long ago.
Everyone there was like, there's no way he committed suicide.
Suicide, yeah. I mean, I have a hard time believing that.
I caught some footage of some of the black protesters there, family members, the best friends, and they're saying, like, why would a black man hang himself
right
in
now?
That same way? That's historically they hang lynch.
If you hang yourself, it's usually in your closet, in your room, like something like that. Like it doesn't make sense to someone. But how would you be able to maneuver that too?
What kind of message would you be sending if you're hanging yourself there? You know what I'm saying? It's like it doesn't make sense to me. If somebody's really depressed and whatnot, they usually do it in a spot where their family finds it, and it's kind of. Even in a suicide, it's very personal, because they're trying to send a message to the people who they felt didn't love them or what sense. But to hang yourself out in the middle of nowhere, I mean, we need transparency, we need answers, we need the police department to do a good job. The sheriff's department really need to get the fuck on this.
The investigation has been off from the beginning, though, because that woman was right. Like, if you're investigating something for real, you're not gonna like go and completely dismiss everything that was happening there. You've already tarnished like the scene. You've already dismissed it, so now going back is a lot more difficult.
And then here's some footage of when, so the protesters started marching, right, on the streets and started disrupting traffic, right, which is what protests should do. So the sheriff department came out in SWAT gear. Came out.
I command you in the name of the people of the state of California. We are the people of California! We are the people of California!
So in the helicopter, they were saying, by the order of the people of California, we want you to get off the street. And then people are like, we are the people of California.
Well, where the movement is going from here is really, it's important because I see a lot of co-option going on. I see them people trying to pivot people to vote for Joe Biden and all this other shit, trying to blame Trump. And I don't know. I just hope that we can get something positive. Really, I mean, what do we really want to march for? What do we need, fam? What do you think? You say about taking
Trump
it to
does
the
have
street.
a lot of blame. Trump
He
does have a lot of
blame.
blame.
I understand that. But we're going to put Joe Biden in office, the guy who wrote the crime bill and stuff, the guy's the face of imperialism.
I hear everyone just say, go vote. And then I'm like,
exactly.
Well, don't go vote for Biden.
Right.
I want to hear people say vote for third party.
Well, that's why we're here, to educate people that even though Trump has a lot of fault for this, it doesn't mean that Joe Biden's going to solve any of these problems. Because Joe Biden wrote the crime bill. Joe Biden, which Bill Clinton signed into law, and which then, of course, initiated the tough on crime stance that has been perpetuated throughout the years. However, in saying that, though, we can't deny what's happening right now in front of us. That can't be at all denied. That this is very
predators,
real.
And they must be brought to heel. It doesn't matter where they came from or what they did. They must be brought to heel,
Yeah. I mean, I just think, it's the system that's obviously the problem. But at the same time, there are racial issues that this country has not dealt with. And if we think about it, it's only been 60 years since this has happened. I mean, since we had like the civil rights movement, even less than that. Yeah. And so it's really not that long ago. It's only a couple generations. And so we have a very unique problem that other countries don't have. Like, particularly countries like democratic socialist countries in the Netherlands, they don't have that. They don't have the population issue, that like the black population and the white population like that. They have other issues with immigrants coming in, but they don't have like the history we do. So we can't dismiss it. They're both racism and economic despair are two arms of the oligarchy. Yeah. And it is just a waste of time to talk about which is important. I think we have to.
But one is being recognized and one is not, and that's the big issue that I have. Places everybody's saying that we the common people can solve this ourselves when it's not us who are pulling the strings; it's the oligarchs. So I understand. I just got off a phone with my friend in Boca Raton. We kind of got in a little debate because he was praising Obama, and this was a friend of mine, a man of color, John Alexander, who used to be, so awesome. Everybody loved him, and he was that great guy. And I'm like, John, why are you celebrating Obama and stuff? And he was but Trump. And then when we got into the discussions, we have to also explain that, who's really pulling the strings? Who has the power? That's my problem out there. What I see in the street is a lot of people are pointing the finger at each other rather than not saying that, okay, we also have something in common. It's the elites who exploit us, who make us talk about our differences because that's their number one weapon is divide and conquer.
Sure, but if you it just comes off as dismissing what is happening.
I don't care how it comes off because everybody's saying it comes off in a certain way. That's not the truth because not everybody thinks that way. You should point at groups and say these people are fucking racist people, whatnot. But a lot of people have not been racist, whatnot, and they understand that they're also being exploited, and that's not realized by everybody in the group.
Right. I mean, but you're not going to get those people to listen to you if you don't listen to what is happening in front of you right now.
I think we've been listening. I think a lot of people have been listening. That's why we see a lot of white faces out there and a lot of people out there.
Yeah.
These tactics, fam, that we're talking about, oh, you got to do this, you got to do that. That seems a lot coming from people in control who want to keep us divided rather than saying, okay, well, who's really exploiting the freedoms? Who's making money off everybody being in jail?
Who's making money off of these protesters right now? Like, are you saying these protesters are making money?
No. I'm saying who's making money off everybody's misery. Black men are jailed in this country higher than a higher. Sure. Well, who's making money at the end of the day? Is it the common white guy that's doing it, or is it an elite oligarch?
It's an elite oligarch who tends to be white.
Who tends to be white. But see, that's that language. But
but it's the truth.
Yeah, but fam, I can't go into the. No, I'm not getting a meaning. I'm just saying we're talking about the differences because I have no control over Jeff Bezos.
Sure,
I have no control,
but you have control
over George Soros.
Over everything else here,
with the people who don't. No, not really. A little bit. I mean, we can always put my power, but I don't have as much. The poor people don't have any power. They don't have any control. We can come out in masses and we can talk about those things. Right, that's what I mean. But at the end of the day, whether that guy's white, black, whatever, he's profiting off of people's misery.
I don't think anybody's denying that.
They don't even know these people's
names. Some people don't know. That's the thing.
They don't even know their names, fam.
But in order for them to understand that, this is what a lot of young people are starting to see. And they're seeing this, and that's going to take them to understand the bigger picture. Yeah. Especially if our voices are out there. But if we're going to look down on what's happening and dismiss it as, okay, this is just a manipulation by blah, 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 then they're not going to learn that. They're going to think you're against them. So there's a way to do that. I think there's a way to educate people about what the bigger, what the core problem is. But you can't dismiss what's happening. And I see there's all these battles on Twitter, but it's class. And it's yes, class is obviously a huge issue, but you can eliminate class tomorrow and the racism will still there. Same as you can eliminate the racism tomorrow and the class issue will still be there. So you can't just say one is bigger than the other.
Yeah, I'm not saying that. I'm saying one is not being recognized. One is not being talked about. Mainstream media doesn't highlight those things. Of course they don't. And that's why we have a channel and stuff. Right. You know what I'm saying? And I said this before. If we eliminated race, you know what I'm saying, the oligarchs would find a way to divide us between the sizes of our ears or our nose. There's always going to be a group of people trying to exploit the rest of the people for the natural resources.
And if we eliminated economics, the same thing. There'd still be racist people. I mean, I 100% believe that. There would still be
racism is taught. Racism, we're not born being racist, it's taught. And we have to unteach it.
capitalism promotes that divide. It's two arms of the same issue of the oligarchy.
But here's the thing, the reason why we're talking about this today too is, well, we're going to talk about Obama. But when you get to say it's about black or white issues, then you excuse a person just because he is black, like Obama, and he gets in and he destroys everything.
Sure.
And he continues the ways of the oligarchs, which were rooted in racism to control people.
Of course.
And he continued that. So that's why it's important, because I saw it yesterday, fam. Happy Obama Day, happy Obama Day, happy Obama Day. So it tells me that we gotta work on both ends. And I'm not saying that one isn't as important as the other one. To me, I just don't think people are recognizing there are a group of elitists in this world who are pulling the strings, taking all the natural resources and keeping everybody pitted at each other. So therefore, they can keep all those resources.
I don't
keep
think,
everybody poverty.
yeah, and I just don't think you can get there until people start seeing this, because not everybody knows what we know. Not everybody is as aware as we are. So they're gonna take these steps to get there. We can't expect people to automatically see the big picture, because not everybody is like we are, and not everybody. I mean, even Congress people we interview, not all of them are know enough about the things they know. It's very true.
Cory Booker stands behind the OAS.
Yeah. Well, Johnny, do you have anything to say?
People of color and,
Do you have anything to say? I just want to hear your opinion.
Recognize both.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I mean, and the only thing that Fee is saying is that when you say that, you just got to say before that yes, I recognize the plight and everything like that.
Yeah.
So
I hear you. And I mean, well, everybody who watches this channel knows how we get out there, how we're activists. They know how we stand and stuff. But you yourself too, Johnny, when you get on that microphone, you're like, it's hard to talk about foreign policy at these things. And that really has a lot to do with them, because the most racist thing we can do as a country is going around and bombing indigenous people in their homeland. And nobody's even aware of that. Nobody even understands that Obama increased that drone-wise. And when 100%. You increase your drone program, you increase civilians, innocent people getting killed. So, I mean, when I do speak of this, I don't speak of this as hey, I'm getting mistreated poorly. I'm speaking of this as, hey, we got to also realize together we have a lot in common, and the elites are robbing us blind, and they're keeping people divided. And that's what, we talk about groups like Black Lives Matter. I love the movement. I understand the message. We understand all lives matter, how it came into play. It's like, yeah, but not all lives are equally at risk, and you're ignoring that and stuff like that. But the organization is different than the actual movement and the message, right? So, I mean, when people have been out there all on Twitter saying, well, they took money from George Soros, we got to go out there and say, guys, they're not motivated by George Soros. Everybody we met in the Black Lives Matter organization was peaceful and tried to keep it peaceful. Yeah. But as an organization, you still have to speak to that, and that's going to cause room for a concern when you're taking people's money like that. And that's something that it's going to come into play. Now, both sides are trying to twist that. But, I mean, where do we go? We have to have discussions about these things.
I mean, I see only the right trying to twist that it's all, like, fundamentally, like, created to blah, blah, blah. And that's what we're going to talk a little bit about later on how things are being pushed up in the media. Because we saw how the media was painting the protesters as violent, as blah, blah, blah. And it's wrong. So, again, like, people are falling for that mainstream media propaganda as well.
Yeah. Somebody put, bro, it ain't black and white, it's green. Because at the end of the day, it's all about that money. It's all about that, that the resources.
Sure, at the end of the day, but that doesn't mean that there aren't racial issues that are happening right now. When you say that, you have to say that. No,
I never said there weren't. I said they're equally important.
No, I'm responding to that.
I'm sorry, my bad. Yeah. And it's kind of funny because when I was talking about the deep pedogate stuff and everything like that, they're known for being just big time fucking racist, like huge, like it gets to the point where you hear reports we don't know about what's going on in
I didn't really hear about Epstein getting girls that were of color. Like most of the girls he grabbed when I saw the documentary.
Like poor white trash from Baby Boulevard. That was his type. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He was pillaging from South Florida.
He knew who to go
white
after.
White trash.
He knew to go after.
Well, yeah, that was the whole thing. Is he would get these girls in these little parties and stuff, and they would get one girl to bring them back, just like Elaine Maxwell said, and it was terrible. So,
all right. Anyway. So, did you have a super chat? Oh, that you already did it.
I think I already read it. Did I miss one, John? Thank you, Allison Irwin. We love you.
Okay, so there have been a couple of protests, of course, that have been growing stronger. People thought this was going to die out. It really hasn't. So there was one in Beverly Hills Friday night where the protesters were actually tear gassed. And this is the thing. It wasn't even BLM. It was like Occupy BLM. And this was, let me see. They identified itself as Occupy BLM, and this is the Beverly Hills Police Department used tear gas and sponge-tipped grenades at protesters at around 11 p.m. Friday night. And they were there. They were trying to have like speeches and poetry and pretty much draw the attention of rich people, because at the last huge protest Johnny and I were both in, there was talk about going into Beverly Hills to make these rich people hear. And I like that, because I'm like, yeah, these people need to understand, because a lot of them kind of cocoon themselves away in their houses and they don't want to listen. So I think it's a really great idea to go into Beverly Hills. And Beverly Hills is always super, super protected by the police. It's like they don't care. You could go to Hollywood, downtown LA, but you go to Beverly Hills and trust me, they'll send the whole squadron there. They'll totally protect them. And so then they issued recently a like not a curfew, but like after 11 p.m. nobody's allowed there because of quiet laws. Let me remind everybody, Beverly Hills is a reason we don't have a good transportation system to the west side, because they refused to let the subway, the metro, go underneath because it went through Beverly Hills High, and the parents said the kids were going to be scared that a metro went underneath the high school.
It's also they didn't want to stop there for people coming in from East LA to stop out and get out in Beverly Hills so easily too. That's another reason why they won't tell you that.
And if I were like running this protest, Beverly Hills would be on fire. Because they would, I mean, the amount of wealth you see there right now is disgusting, because we're seeing more and more tent cities pop up, and then you see people like on Rodeo Drive. I mean, Louis Vuitton would be on fire. I'm not going to tell you guys my whole plan, but that's what I would be doing. Louis
Vuitton is Italian.
Whatever, pasta. Just because Italians are white too. Just kidding. And then of course there was the West Hollywood protest for kind of pride, and it wasn't led by BLM because I think they didn't get the approval. It was West Hollywood and a couple of voices that were really vocal about what was happening. And a lot of Black people have spoken that in the gay community, and this is where we get like really, shifty, because in the gay community, they feel pushed out. A lot of they were calling out their friends, like not enough gay people have been coming out and standing with us, and that was what the article was talking about. Like we don't have enough space here, we don't feel like we're welcomed. And I've seen that and I'm not trying to trash the gay community at all, but there is a sense of elitism in West Hollywood, and a lot of people get away with it just because they're gay. And we've seen that happen in the Democratic Party as well. Yeah. And so they were kind of calling it out, and I thought that was good. Like, yeah, I agree. Like there is like that, we're just going to go out here and have our thing, and this is our plight, and we need to combine issues. Like that's how we grow. It's like, it's not my issue or your issue, right? But there has to be more of an understanding, and I think that was the point. There's a Twitter thread where there's some pictures, Johnny, below that you can show of what it looked like yesterday, and they started on Hollywood and Highland, I believe, and then they marched all the way to West Hollywood, and there was a lot of people there, thousands of people there, and it's pretty awesome to see that. So yesterday also on our way, where Eva and I, we were trying to find the protesters, and then when we found them, when we were getting ready to finally go get food, they stopped traffic on the 101. And these protesters were really smart, and I really liked how they did it. Very, very good organizing. I would actually recommend people do it, because they stopped traffic on the 101 southbound, and then they moved away. So they stopped traffic, they spoke, they said their piece. People weren't even mad. People were like, yeah, in support. And then they let the cars go. They went somewhere else. That is smart. I think that should be done throughout. Like, yeah, do different highways, do whatever. And also the cops, by the time they get to you, you're already gone. Yeah. So I thought it was really smart.
Johnny
we have
Video.
A couple videos.
Yeah, you got Johnny Video. Eva Video.
Eva Video.
Eva Vids. On the next Lost.
People were just more excited to listen to what they were saying.
Every day we have to make decisions. Calculated decisions on where we go, where we think about that.
The police hadn't gotten there yet. They were slow to get there. And there was people watching from the bridges on both ends. This is Hollywood, and we were going southbound. The GPS was taking. And I got stuck there. And I was like, yeah, okay. This is what I love this.
That's the first time we've been on a highway walking around with a video camera.
Motorcycle just.
He should have gone slow.
People are like honking in
Okay.
support. It's really cool.
So they stop traffic, fam, because they want people to be frustrated and understand what
yeah.
they're going through, their suffering, how they feel. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And I think that's a great thing when they do that stuff.
Yeah.
Because we said this from the get-go, from the first BLM protest we went to. All they wanted to do was stop traffic. They didn't want to incite violence. They didn't want to loot. They didn't want to go after cops. They just wanted to stop traffic. They came to a conclusion. They spoke, and all the organizers left. What happens after, or what breaks apart, that really wasn't there in the first place. That's what's being twisted, is that it's part of these movements. It's really not the truth.
Nothing happened here. Shortly after, I had to go get gas because I was running low. So we were going to come back and watch. And they let us through, basically. They left. I went to get gas, and I was going to follow them, and then they had left, and then they found me again. And they were right there.
Okay.
So they kept going. They kept moving. And this is what we were talking about last time. How do you avoid getting corralled and arrested? You keep moving. That was what they were doing in
They learn.
Yeah.
Everybody's learning. I love the fact that we can use the CIA tactics against them. That's because you think about the Hong Kong, and they're very organized, and they were like, somebody was like, I'm so amazed what they were doing, and it's like, you think they're just doing that and plotting together as citizens against Beijing and Red China. It's not the truth. They've been funded by the CIA, and they've taken all these tactics into play. But their cops over there in Hong Kong are a lot less violent than our cops, and you better believe that shit.
Which is crazy since they're so authoritarian.
Yeah, they're so authoritarian. We had a super chat contribution, and I have a question, guys, because I want your opinion right now, because somebody asked me this question. Poopy Cakes, love your fire and your spirit. Thank you for the 230 people watching on YouTube, and the 6 people, that's not enough. Get on over to our ROKFIN, help us out, ROKFIN. Sign up for free. Fam, John, what is the solution? Where do we go from here? Because you've said before, these movements didn't happen without us in the streets, right? Okay, so that's the first part of it. How do we transition it into policy and legislation that's really going to help us out? Because my personal opinion is they better watch the shows tomorrow with Raji Robb and Brent Turner to understand what's going on so we can make our vote count. But what is the solution moving forward, fam? How do we take this movement and make it really work?
I think we listen to what they're saying. We push for the end to police brutality, for legislation for these. We protest until we get what we want. And then we're going to see right now in the next month or so, this reopening, it's not going to be the same. A lot of businesses aren't reopening, period. We're seeing it everywhere. We're going to see people start feeling the economics of it. And we all have to be out there pointing out, this is good. This is all great. We're with you. And also, we're all poor. What has the government done for us? If the government isn't doing anything on police brutality, they're also not doing anything to give us health care in the middle of a pandemic. Now they're saying the numbers are rising of people being infected. Of course, people are getting tested more. And there's a discrepancy. There's the disagreement on if the death rates are falling. I've read that they are. I've also heard that they're not. So it's really hard right now. We're in a moment where everybody feels alone and anxious and so uncertain about the future, because people are trying to get back to normal, but everybody is seeing that it's not going to be normal. I think that's going to propel the next wave of organizing, because there are people organizing to a list of demands that include police brutality. We need to have a list of demands, and we're going to see more groups come in and coalesce around the people fighting against the establishment. But again, it has to be done in a way where you are welcoming of their plight, and then you also are working on a plight for everybody.
Well, John, you have an opinion about it? Because I know we have a representative government, and we have representation. I don't know what all the protests in the streets going to happen if it continues, because I always feel that people are going to be brainwashed, co-opted, and they'll go back to their normal lives eventually of hanging at home, watching Netflix, eating Domino's, and not taking to the streets, and we won't get
unless
no
they
change.
can't, though.
Okay.
Well, an idea that someone said the other day that I thought was really cool was that instead of having elected officials do the voting, we do the voting.
Yeah.
Like national voting, on everything.
Sure.
So
that's a very socialist idea.
Which, I mean,
by the way, actually communist, but
see, somebody's saying like, I demand end to racist organizations. Shouldn't we end the cause of racism? What's causing people to be divided, which is low-informed, low-educated people, and they're being told that guy across the street is getting something for free and he's not. When they starve us of resources, isn't that the thing that really ignites the fire of racism?
Yeah, but only some dumbass white people get that, right? Only some dumbass white
very
people. Other uneducated white people still are.
There
like,
are
nah.
very and let me retort this. There are very highly educated and really intelligent people that are racist.
Yeah.
I mean, Johnny, you said racism here by very wealthy people in California, and they're educated. It is inherent. It's not taught, yeah. It is not necessarily, and it's not just taught. It's what you grow up with.
It's personal experience.
It's like your experiences. Yeah. It is entitlement. It is a lot of things, and so I think you can do both. I think you can both put an end to these sort of organizations and also focus. And by doing that, you also have to attack the bigger picture, which is like, for instance, ending ICE, defund ICE. Sure, but we need to look at the CIA as well. Yeah. But I think you're not going to get people to get, again, it's the whole thing, like people need to get there because they don't know.
They're causing the reaction by ICE to come in and take people out of this country who they say were here illegally, but we caused that problem because the CIA got involved and fucked up their country, so they came here and stuff. Right. So I mean, I always think that, and I hear you, there are educated people that are still racist, but a lot of people, I think, if you think about racism at its core, it's so fucking dumb to believe that somebody, just because they're a different, and I think a lot of people have to wake up to that, and I think hip-hop music, rap music, the music that me and Johnny listen to, has done a lot to repair that bridge that might have been damaged. I think Dr. Cornel West talked about the way the jazz movement really brought people of different races and colors and ethnicities and classes to come together. I think that happens with hip hop. When you hear Lil Wayne say that, the most of the people who buy his album are poor white kids, you know what I'm saying? I think that gives them an insight to say, hey man, this whole racism shit that our parents are trying to teach them, it's full of crap. It's full of bull.
It's
and that's
mainly
why
the older generation too that is like that. The younger people who are like that.
75% of the race house is going to be dead in 10 years.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah. So. Pretty much. So other than that, Soul Construct says, Fee Pasta, Johnny, Tina, all bringing in the real truth. What up, Soul Construct?
Thank you, Soul Construct.
Saul gets a lot of shit too. We love you, Saul.
I like the accidental activist, what she said. It says, we have more power in the streets than we will ever have at the ballot box.
Absolutely. We're seeing that right now.
At the ballot box, our vote doesn't
That's the problem.
Count. Our vote doesn't count.
Well, our vote doesn't count.
We need to equate the power of the streets into the ballot box. And that's first off starting watching.
But that's how it happens.
But it hasn't happened. That's why we've gotten a little something and fall back.
It's happened before.
But we keep digressing back.
The civil rights movement, we saw what happened as a result of people marching in the streets. We saw things change in the legislation because of that. That would have never happened by people being incremental and only focusing on the electorate. Progressives have no power in the electorate, as I said in the video from yesterday. They don't. Why? Because we always give in to the Democratic Party. Right? Oh, yeah. Well, it doesn't matter. Bernie said to vote for Joe Biden, so I have to vote for Joe Biden, no matter what. So you're telling the Democrats that no matter what they do to you, no matter how they treat you, you're going to vote for them? You're giving up all of your power. And so the only power we have right now is the power in the streets and the power with our vote. Because if we, and it doesn't, that's a lot less power because half the time it doesn't count. But what it can happen is a really low turnout between Biden and Trump and a very high in the Green Party or whatever party, or just no turnout at all.
Yeah.
And that's going to show how people are so fed up with the government, how they don't trust it, and how the power, now you didn't listen to us in the electorate, it's too slow, we don't have time, we're going to go in the streets and then do it that way.
Well, that's the thing, is that I think when we think back of what we've gotten, we really have gotten a little cheese in the trap. We've gotten dick. We haven't gotten anything. Look where we're at. They've given us a little bit something here and there. You know why? Because we never backed it up with the electorate. If we were to change one piece of legislation, it would change the whole dynamic of the planet. And that is transparency in voting. Because most people at the end of the day are going to vote for somebody who's going to help them to bring to help them with their resources, their bills, their economics and stuff. And if we have complete transparency, we'll get rid of all these elitists or the people who support the elites, and we will change the whole paradigm.
But they're not going to do that. They're not going to do that by legislation, Pasta. They're only going to do that if you go out on the streets and demand it, because they've gotten away with it time and time again.
Yeah, but that's because people ignored the fact that they haven't followed it up at the ballot box. They haven't had election integrity. Their vote's not being counted, and they haven't called that piece of bullshit. And once they call it that piece of bullshit, everything will change. And I hear you. Get to the streets, but we got to back it up with who we put into our representative government, because we have a
but that's
representative
what I'm saying.
government.
We don't have a representative government. That's what I'm saying.
Well,
we don't. We live in an oligarchy. So it doesn't matter who you vote for. If Joe Biden wins, if Trump wins, the status quo remains. It just does, like, and like we can argue over who's worse or whatever, but at the end of the day, they're both going to enact nothing. Nothing's going to change. So...
Yeah. Spectre of Winning, they give it a super chat contribution. He says, you can buy an adequate megaphone on eBay with this if you care to, fam. Thank you, Spectre.
Already bought one.
Johnny
got one with the last super chat. You know what I'm saying? So, fam, what's next?
Appreciate it, though.
Okay. So there's I wanted to show what's going on in New York, and just this little video of what happened.
I'm from New York, Long Island.
Long Island. Yeah, your people, fam.
They're my peeps.
Don't touch him! 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 He's not resisting! He's not resisting! He's not resisting!
Okay, I just want to read what happened, because basically what happened was this protester was out there and he wasn't doing anything, and then they just all of them just went on and attacked him. So
he tried to move out of his way.
Yeah.
He tried to move out of his way. They did.
And they kneeled on his neck and had about 6 officers holding him down, according to the bystanders that were there. And it's interesting because the reason I want to point that out, obviously, George Floyd was killed by a knee to his neck.
Now look at the police officer walking in his way. He's just trying to walk out of his way. I mean, how do you not say that that's the police's fault? And that's that's just disgusting right there. You cannot do that.
I mean,
you cannot say that to anybody.
It's a power thing too. That's the thing. They have no accountability for anything they do. Anybody else does that, you will be arrested and prosecuted. Police have a bigger power, and that needs to change. This is why people are talking about systemic change.
He's stopping. He's getting in his way. He's trying to push back. He's guilty of sin. They caused that problem right there. Right there. Right there. All those police officers right there. What are you talking about? They should have been out in the street there protesting and doing that shit. Bullshit.
This
is when people say F the police, and they're right. Right there.
It's an American constitutional right to protest. I mean, if we love the Constitution, you have to love your First Amendment rights.
But you're kneeling, fam.
So the ACLU obviously is one of the reasons why they stopped the curfews in California. People started suing the police too, the LAPD in particular. Mm-hmm. And African countries are now calling for an urgent meeting by the UN Human Rights Council to look into police brutality and violence against peaceful protests. I wish they would do the same for our elections too, because this is like very, it's like, yes, it needs to happen. 54 countries in Africa, by the way. But China. And
that's what we're looking at, right?
This is after the families of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Philando Castile, Michael Brown were supported by 650 groups, including the U.S. Human Rights Network.
Yeah.
And there we are. So that's what's happening right now.
I heard there was somebody who was jailed when the Michael Brown stuff was going on. He was like 18 years old, and he's still in jail or something.
Really? I didn't know about that.
I think somebody sent us that. I gotta go look it up, but that supposedly happened.
Yeah. So this is probably gonna be your favorite part, Pasta, because I call it neofibrils doing their thing on police issues. Yeah, neofibrils, because they're fibbing, they're lying.
Oh no.
Joe Biden put out this, he thinks he's doing great, but he said, we need a national ban on chokeholds now. Okay. This is, again, it takes me back to the hospital thing, like the TV doctor thing, fam.
Yeah.
Like, you're dying because there's something wrong with your heart and he wants to check your breathing.
Yeah.
Like what's that going to do? What's that going to do? A chokehold? Like, sure. Okay. But that's not going to solve the freaking problem, Joe.
But it sounds good.
Exactly. These are the platitudes from these neofibrils who like literally just lie. And because he's more polite than Trump, because he sounds better, people tend to believe him. A lot of people are like, well, at least he's polite. At least he's not, just this. Ugh. And that's the problem. That's what this is why we're here, because we need to point out that he can say whatever he wants. Talk is cheap. But at the end of the day, is he going to change the law? No, he's against defunding the police, just like Donald Trump is. Except Donald Trump likes to boast about it, and he doesn't.
Exactly.
So
Donald Trump's being honest, and Joe Biden's lying. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He's being honest about what he feels, not what's really. Matt Thomas says, "How about a ban on the smelling of hair of women and young girls?" Now, I love that one. Do we have another neo-fibral out there?
So your favorite is
oh, I know who you're talking about. Nance.
So somebody did this really awesome video that we should watch.
Oh my God. How do they but this is the thing, this is the people you're countering with? Your movement is hinging on these people is backing up Nancy Pelosi?
So Nancy Pelosi endorsed Joe Biden with a video, and somebody took it and made it better. Let's just watch it. I gotta watch this. Comedic relief.
Today, I am proud to endorse Joe Biden because he will be an extraordinary president.
We cannot win this re-election. We can only re-elect Donald Trump.
With a clear path to lead us out of this crisis.
We have to take care of the cure. That will make the problem worse no matter what.
Joe Biden brings values and integrity to work every day because he never forgets his roots.
Kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down.
We need a forward-looking, battle-tested leader who will fight for the people.
Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids.
The strategic thinking to bring our nation together.
I don't count drunk driving as a felony.
A leader who is the personification of hope and courage.
All men and women created by you know the thing.
Values, authenticity, and integrity.
His hands were down my skirt and up my skirt.
Today, I am proud to endorse Joe Biden.
Yeah, so that was a pretty great ad for Joe Biden. Thank you guys for doing that. That was
oh my God,
Fog City Midge who did that. And this is your other favorite person.
No, this
fam.
is your favorite person, fam.
No,
I want to start about this guy.
This is like the guy you look up to.
Let me pick up on what Stacey Abrams just said. So the first sentence, he's already lost me.
Yeah.
Hashtag defund the police slogan is being used to divide us. She called for transformation of the police that's much stronger than just reform, but not distracting like defunding. Transform the police is appealing, and most people, to most people, and it sounds strong.
So you lose me right away, like Pasta said, when you are talking about Stacey Abrams, because you're talking about Center for American Progress right away. This is why I down the idea of changing defund the police, because this is an area where neoliberals and the right agree, because they're focusing on the semantics because they just don't want to do it. It doesn't matter. They just don't want to do it. And Cenk, the home of the progressives, the leader of the home of the progressives here, got ratioed a lot. A lot of people went after him. And Brianna Joy Gray has a great tweet underneath, and she said, people keep saying if you mean reform, say reform, but defund is confusing. She says, but reform has dozens of meanings, so the term is as easily co-opted as it is misunderstood. Defund has clear meaning. The only ambiguity is amount of money folks want to take away. Again, so the arguments are all about semantics. And of course, look, Rocky Bellinger, a lot of people went after him. And it's really sad. Well, it's not sad anymore. It's not surprising to us. But for a lot of people, they're like, wow, Cenk, he's really agreeing with Stacey Abrams. He's really propping him out. And what's happened, fam, and this is what I discussed in the video, is that a lot of people, because of Donald Trump's recent antics, which of course should not be dismissed, they have become fearful and say, well, now we have to vote for Donald Trump or for Joe Biden. We absolutely have to, no matter what. And it's been a lot of people, even commentators, even Kyle Kulinski. They have all said they're probably going to vote for Joe Biden.
Oh, yeah,
this is what's happening right now because people are so frozen by this fear, right? And it's what's leading us. This is how they're using. This is what Pasta was referring to. They're using this movement to co-opt it to get people to vote for Joe Biden. Yeah. That doesn't mean that people aren't fighting for the right things, but there are people who are manipulating things to get the political result that they want.
Let me tell you something. I'm a little bit stuck on that sometimes too as well when we talked about defund the police, demilitarize the police, reform. and it is semantics. The thing that really changed my point of view is when you guys told me, and I was like, man, I really wish they would have used a different message. I thought defund the police. I knew the right wing was going to run with that and use that like it was the believe women kind of argument again. And
but now you're seeing that the neoliberals are doing the same thing.
The neoliberals are doing the same thing because they are nothing more than Republican light. But the thing that really kind of, once again, every time I think about it, I think about what you guys told me. It's like, no, we need to defund because we need to build something up from the ground up that is different.
Yeah.
So that does help the argument. Once again, I don't have a lot of faith in people sometimes, the masses of people. Sometimes I'm kind of like Better Call Saul, where I think a lot of people are just very simple, consumed, and we have to feed them baby food with a spoon. However, it is semantics, and I think a lot of people understand what's going on, what they want to do. But I see these neoliberals are putting up these fugazi kind of bills out there, like the Cuomo situation, whatnot. Yeah. So, I mean...
that's why people haven't stopped protesting, right?
The thing that's the worst is for me personally, is seeing these military vehicles on the street. I really fucking hate it. I think it's disgusting. I think it's trying to send a message. When you give boys toys, they're gonna fucking use them, right, Johnny? We caught the goddamn the Pasadena one. Let me see if I can get it over to Johnny. We saw this on the streets, and we started looking into the company that made it. Here it is, John. I'm just gonna send it to you real quick.
We live in a police state, and by having the military presence there for a bunch of kid protesters, I mean, literally, most of these people are really young, sends a wrong message. It sends that you are telling them they're doing something wrong when they're simply exercising their right to vote. Send it to the IMAC. That's all they're doing. They're exercising their right to vote.
And all these protests are peaceful, is the thing.
Yeah, they only turn sour when the police show up. And even yesterday, when we were on the highway, they left as the police were starting to come in, and nothing happened. They were just kept marching somewhere else. And that's the thing, and police have backed off now because they're getting their asses sued.
So this is in the streets of Pasadena right here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh, God.
This is what I'm talking about. We caught this on the other way. We were going to get some Mako bowl. I was looking forward to nice chicken teriyaki, some rice, some vegetables, what are that, broccoli.
Jackson Facts.
Those pickled, I'm sorry, Jackson Facts. Extra vegetables so I have less chicken. But we saw this on the way there, man. It's like you don't need these in the streets, and that's a big thing. So that's why sometimes I said I wish we would have started with demilitarization. Demilitarize the police.
Oh, that's included in that.
It is 100%. Included. It is included, but once again...
definite.
Baby steps for the, I guess, I don't know. Listen, I'm not sold on this right now. I'm not against it. I'm not for it. I understand the message, but if I understand the message, I'm wondering, does everyone else understand the message? Because we're in our own bubble. We study these things. We look at these things. The everyday person who gets up and goes to work every day that doesn't follow politics.
Then they need to be educated to understand it, because nothing less is going to work. I mean, I think at this point.
They got a lot of education to come, fam.
So, moving on to Obama, fam.
Oh, fam, you let the cat out of the bag. Obama Day. Why the movement is stuck and cannot move forward. And this is a big thing we talk about. Mm-hmm. Obama Day. We have to stop praising a warmonger who hurt the poor and the minorities. And despite being a warmonger and a Wall Street hack and a tool of Big Pharma, people can't stop praising him, fam. Why can people not stop praising Obama? Help me out, guys. Let me know. Go ahead.
So he symbolically, it sounds good. He looks presidential. It is these things that a lot of people have been taught to look at. It's all about hero worship culture. That is why I'm against people like worshiping anybody, because it's like it has never led us down the right path. It's happening again with AOC, where people think that she should run in 2024 and that's going to be the answer to our prayers. Yeah. It is such bullshit. Like, first of all, she's not good enough right now to run for president at all. Foreign policy wise, domestic wise, she's not. You're creating this idea of a person that isn't real. And it's all about the celebrity status, the hero worship, and I think that's what happened with Obama. Now, I do have to say, from hearing the gentleman we interview, Brandon Lamar, I understand what it meant for people of color to have somebody like that when they have been pushed down as being told, like, you will never be like this, you will never be like that.
You'll never be president.
Yeah, and so I understand that initial, right, I understand that.
His mentor, Dr. Cornel West, even said that Obama is not, his legacy needs to be known, that he is the imp of imperialism.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? So just because they,
nobody's denying that, but there's something that you or I won't understand ever, because that's something that they were told that you will never amount to anything.
And oppressed people who have somebody
that's why
that
it's so hard to break that. even though he's a fraud.
I get that. So, but then if you hit them with the facts, and then they're still like, I don't know,
Yeah, and let me tell you, a lot of young people, young black men and women, they see it.
Yeah,
that's why Bernie Sanders
Gloria
had
Jones.
their support.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
They had their support. So tell us about what Christine Pelosi said.
Well, we're going to start about Christine Pelosi. I want to talk about the people behind the scenes praising Obama. Christine Pelosi, of course, happy Obama Day, June 14th, which we might point out is it's Trump's birthday, right? So that's why they did this.
Oh, really? I thought it was Obama's birthday.
No, it was Trump's birthday. Oh, so I think they want to, right? I'm almost positive of that. Somebody told me about that.
Trump's a Cancer?
Oh, my God.
Really?
Let's see.
Cancers are supposed to be like super like.
Yeah, his birthday was June 14th. So that's why they did it on that day.
Like.
So he is a Cancer. My sister's a Cancer.
Yeah, Cancers are really like
nice.
Makes
sense
now.
But they always. But here's the things that really get me. The next one, Honey Chili. Okay, A Tale of Two Presidents. And they get the little video. This is Honey Child. Is it Honey Child? Honey Chile.
Okay, I think it's Honey Child.
Honey Child or Honey Chile. Either way. But once again, they use these kind of videos to really just distort the actual view. I mean, how many children did he kill with his drone attacks? There he is.
You are president.
Yeah. What's your name?
Michelle.
I know Michelle. I know Michelle. One of my favorite people's named Michelle. You saw me on TV? Did I see you on TV?
Sometimes my dad watches you on
Make sure everybody can see my
Cheese. Now I know my ABC. That is one of my favorite stories. Do you like the story about the Sneetches?
Yeah.
We thank you very much. That was very nice of you. We thank you very much.
Thank you so much. That's beautiful.
Okay, I gotta admit that's fucking hilarious.
It's fucking hilarious and stuff too. But
oh my God, that's fucking
I knew you guys
hilarious.
would appreciate
so
that. I knew you guys would appreciate that and stuff like that. But
I mean, you can't argue that Trump isn't the most like warm, loving person. And that's the thing. Obama, as fake as he is, he can do that. He is that type of personality that can charm people. And that's all people are looking at. And it's unfortunate, but that's what's happening.
In The Guardian, Medea Benjamin writes, okay.
That was hilarious.
I knew you guys would love that. America dropped 26,171 bombs in 2016. Mm-hmm. What a bloody end to Obama's reign. So now you see him in the classroom saying hi to the kids, and that's painted to the American people. Oh, look at Obama, he's great. Even the children like him. But behind the scenes, because we don't have a real media out there, we have independent media like us running around here trying to tell the truth. Hashtag foreign policy matters, right, John?
Yeah.
26,000 bombs on his last year. In his last year, Obama dropped. How many children were killed under his watch? And that's the thing that I like to point out. I don't like to point out. It's a shame to point out, but that's something we can't lose fact of. We can't lose sight of, that his foreign policy was so awful that it was racist to the core because it dropped bombs on indigenous people all around the world.
And it's just people, again, I go back to people just don't care almost in America. We're a very egocentric country. We don't know how to point other countries on the map, whereas other people in other countries know exactly what's going on in our country. They know our politics very well. We don't pay attention to that. And, a lot of people are going to say, well, he's not perfect. He has to defend America. He has to do that. A lot of people even argue like, well, somebody's got to be on top and somebody's got to be at the bottom. That's that mentality that we have to really fight against. And it's really hard to fight against that mentality when people in America are so beaten up and so consumed by everything else. It's just really hard to fight that foreign policy battle when people just don't pay attention to it because their basic needs aren't being met. It is a very perfect situation for the oligarchs.
Watch this one that you guys have put up on the Convo Couch.
Real
Johnny,
quick,
if you have anything to say, go ahead.
Yeah, real quick. It says nearly 3 bombs every hour, 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's disgusting.
Can you imagine?
That was in his last year. Let me go out with a bang.
Literally.
Flint, Michigan. Powerful video.
Okay,
this is almost as upsetting as the Standing Rock stuff.
Yeah, so let's just play it. Yeah, this is really bad, you guys.
That I see you and I hear you.
Oh, come on.
We invest Can I get some water? Come on up here. I want a glass of water.
Get a bottle. Bottle water.
I want a glass of water. Everybody settle down. This is a feisty crowd.
Everybody settle down.
Thank you.
Look at that.
I really did need a glass of water. This is not a stunt.
What? He wet his lips. He did not drink it. He didn't sip it. He wet his lips.
There was an audible gasp in the audience. People were just like absolutely dejected. Why would you do that?
I am sure that somewhere when I was 2 years old, I was taking a chip of paint, tasting it, and I got some lead.
Yeah, that's like talking about like, well, I didn't wear a seatbelt and I'm fine. It's like, but there were tons of people that died.
Backstage, the president, sitting at the table with the criminal governor, decided to perform his stunt all over again.
You know, generally I have not been doing stunts here, but, you know.
That's not what I expected. That's what Snyder did.
It felt like he minimized like what people are actually going through and struggling with. If you were actually lead poisoned, you would not be president, you would be janitor Barack Obama.
We were holding on to hope that he would declare a disaster area. A disaster would give us FEMA, it would give us pipe replacement, get engineers in here. Then we could get Medicare for all the residents of Flint. As soon as he took a drink of the water and said everything's fine, that was that.
And look at it, years later, it's still poison.
When he came here, he was my president, but when he left, he was not my president.
Yeah.
But fam, he can run up there without holding on to the rails like Trump can. And
right.
he looks good and he speaks well.
Right. And let me just add that was full-on gaslighting. Like,
full-on.
Your guys are wrong. Like, look, I'm drinking this water. I'm fine. Like, it is so dismissive, so condescending, and still Flint, Michigan doesn't have clean water. Like, how can you even forgive him just for that? And those are black people that are suffering.
Yeah. Well, we also saw some poor white people over there suffering too. You know what I'm saying?
Of course.
It's poor people all together in that area.
My whole point, Pasta, is that the support that he gets a lot, he's being praised by that same community. So there are people of that same community who are aware.
Yeah. I mean, gotcha. I hear you. Also, the way the press and the mainstream media praise this guy, the exposés on Time Magazine, the Nobel Peace Prize, all this stuff. Happy birthday to Putin's bitch, Donald Trump. They can help with it. Listen, I had to put in there, got a little Russiagate going on over there. Got to throw that in there in case you need to remember what a real president looks like. Really, a real president. Fam, I think I have one of my more successful tweets. Shameless plug coming right now. Breaking news. You can be both critical of both Trump and Obama. Yes, it's very possible for two people to both suck in two separate parties. Now back to your programming. Literally, your programming.
True.
Is it possible, fam?
It is possible.
Can we be critical and say Trump sucks? Can we not say F Trump, but have to say F Obama? Isn't it the whole system of oligarchs that's really bringing us down?
Obviously. I mean, yeah. So what couple of things has Trump or Obama done?
Well, listen, Johnny, you don't have to go to any of the stuff down below. I just left it there in case you want to go to them. I'm going to read off a really quick list of not-so accomplishments in Obama's legacy. Okay, here's the list. He gave Bush absolute immunity for everything. Remember what a lot of people said when Obama gets in office, he's got to hold Bush and Wolfowitz and Cheney and all these guys accountable. They went and invaded a foreign land on a lie. They tortured people. He has to hold them accountable. And if he doesn't hold them accountable, nothing will change. He didn't hold any of them accountable. He launched 20,000 airstrikes in his first term. We talked about his last term. Well, his first term, he had 20,000. He got 20,000, 26,000, bookending how many times he bombed people in their country. He repealed the propaganda ban. He signed the Monsanto Protection Act into law. Remember the Dark Out fam? Allowing Monsanto to run free. Okay?
And they merged with Bayer afterwards.
And here's something. We have proof that they were with Bayer back in the days they were working with these people. It's dark, deep people, controlled elites, controlling people. It's disgusting. He pushed for the TPP. Remember Bernie Sanders talking against the TPP? Well, that was all Obama. He did a commercial promoting clean coal. Clean, beautiful coal. He opened up the deep water oil drilling. The BP disaster, let me tell you something. In Russia, they just had a big oil spill, state of emergency too as well. We need to stop drilling for oil everywhere. Oil and water doesn't mix. Water is life. If we don't have water, we're dead. Water is more important than food. He opened up dumping fracking wastewater directly into the ocean. He bragged about the use of drone. I'm really good at killing people, fam. Assassinated 4 U.S. civilians with drone strikes. No due process there. Deported a modern record 3 million immigrants, more than all other presidents combined. He was the deporter in chief. Trump's giving him a run for his money, but let's not forget that Obama, he really set the bar high. How about the Espionage Act? He used the Espionage Act to prosecute more whistleblowers than all previous administrations combined. In other words, Obama was the sledgehammer that says, you will not truth tell. You will be silent. You will shut your mouth. You will not tell the plebs the truth about the deep state. He sold 30 billions of weapons to the dictatorship of Saudi Arabia. Remember, everybody's like, he's going to get in there. He's going to turn his back on the Saudis. Nope, he was their friend. He went walking around them too. Promised $38 billion to Israel while committing humanitarian crimes against Palestine. Oh, God. Dropped bombs in 7 Muslim countries. Didn't bring justice to Wall Street for the economic crash. In fact, fam, he bailed them out. And what did he do to mainstream? He threw their ass out on the streets. Here's a good one. Okay, we want to talk about racist act. He backed neo-Nazis in the Ukraine. And Joe Biden gave the thumbs up to Victoria Nuland. We talked about it with Mark Sloboda the other day. Despite campaign pledges, he did not close Guantanamo Bay. He put troops in the ground in Syria, despite 16 times saying no troops on the ground. He let the CIA run rampant there. He started a new war on terror. This one was on ISIS. He admitted to directly funding ISIS, another terrorist group. So not only did he say he's against them, he was funding them. Remember, that was the whole moderate rebels? They were not moderate rebels that he was funding, and it was bullshit. Said, I believe in American exceptionalism with every fiber of my being. Started a new war in Iraq. Initiated a personally oversees a secret kill list. Remember we talked about the Obama kill list? He had his own kill list. Supported Israel's wars and occupation of Palestine. Deployed special ops to 134 countries compared to 60 under Bush. We talked about this in Africa, fam. He started sending people into Africa, bases left and right. He put drones there. And as soon as Trump came in, all Trump had to do was arm the drones. Drastically escalated the NSA spying program. We know this. Obamagate came through. They used the courts as a joke. They used a dossier to do whatever they want to look and spy and on his political rivals. It was terrible. Signed the NDAA into law. He signed an agreement for 7 military bases in Colombia. Opened a military base in Chile. Touted nuclear power even after the disaster in Japan. Mandated the insider threat program. Defended body scans and pat-downs at airports. Signed the Patriot Act extension into law. A lot of people said that Patriot Act was going away under Obama. It did not. He started a covert drone war in Yemen. Okay, the Houthis. He bombed and killed so many of the Houthis, the poorest people in the Middle East. He killed them. Continued Bush's rendition program. Said the U.S. is the one indispensable nation in the world. Waged war on Libya without congressional approval, which we know what happened in Libya, fam. Slave state. Started a covert drone war in Yemen. I think I said that twice. My bad. Escalated the proxy war in Somalia. Escalated the CIA drone war in Pakistan. Sharply escalated the war in Afghanistan. So it was one thing after the other after the other. He allowed the Citigroup to pick his cabinet. Remember Julian Assange? Julian Assange from WikiLeaks is sitting in a prison rotting. They're not even giving the guy a radio, not even in touch with the outside world. Well, Julian Assange revealed an email where Citigroup told Obama, this is who you can pick as your cabinet. And guess what? It was the same people. The Tim Geithners, the Larry Saunders. Ignore Standing Rock. Fam, we'll see how it just plays out. Flint, Michigan. Complete silence on election fraud committed by the DNC. Well, don't boo. Vote. Yeah, your ass. protected Debbie Wasserman Schultz. He endorsed Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who got funded by private prisons and detention centers, where all the people who were crying about kids in cages, well, that's what Debbie Wasserman Schultz was getting funded by, those same groups. And Obama endorsed her and killed the public opinion rather than using it as a bargaining chip to get a better health care. Yep. He had a full Democratic Senate and Republican.
Full Democratic Senate.
And that's it.
And not to mention that during the Ferguson attacks, that he refused to go after the police in Ferguson, Missouri, if you guys recall. He also completely ignored that. Obama obviously was a terrible president, and people just still fall for the symbolism, the superficiality, because that's what we've taught Americans. Look at reality shows. Look at who they admire. Look at who's president. Yeah. I mean,
you're
really,
fired.
like you're. I mean, that's all we are, and that's why this country needs a really, really huge shock, and that's what's needs to happen.
Just want to send a special shout out to CyberDoc, Pijman, Tony Watches Closely, Holly Horn, everybody who's hanging out on that ROKFIN. CyberDoc, I mentioned your name already. Who else did I miss? Jackie Pagal, Cam Schwari, Kate. We have 11 viewers over there. We need more. We want 20 viewers today before we got another topic coming up, fam. We do have 275 people watching on our YouTubes. Ruth P., thank you so much for the super chat contribution.
Hey, Ruth.
It is always appreciated on the couch. That was for you, fam. Heart, use ESP. Look forward to Fee's kick-ass tweets. Glad I finally donated a few dollars. Ruth,
thank you. Ruth.
We
appreciate you.
She is savage on her tweets.
She said, love yous.
Love yous.
Especially looking forward to Fee's kick-ass tweets. Glad I can finally donate.
Did I not say it right? I said L-use. Yeah. I said heart use ESP. Fee, if you haven't checked out our Twitter, go check it out. We need more people on the ROKFIN. Thank you so much. Fam, let's talk about this because I don't know. Larry was just trying to call me. Should I call him?
No, wait. Let me just go through this really quickly. So, because we've been going on for a long time. So, Seattle's CHAZ / CHOP, okay? Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone or Capitol Hill Occupied Protest is not a violent Antifa paradise. Donald Trump and the right-wing media propaganda have been saying that that's what they are. They've been trying to twist the narrative. A lot of people, including some libertarians and some certain people that Pasta really loves, have swallowed this propaganda. And I'm talking about Miss Syrian Girl. She started talking about how comparing basically Antifa to the Kurdish #YPG.
Just so you know.
Okay, awesome. And she said, been telling you for years, Antifa will try to recreate the Kurdish Autonomous Zone, Rojava, in the U.S. Trump backed them, and now you have #Seattle Autonomous Zone. And here she's retweeting the Kurdish YPG and saying that those are Antifa. They call themselves anarcho-communists, and that this is the same as what's happening in Seattle Autonomous Zone. So that's her point of view. And then she also said that the gardening. So like the gardening element of CHOP comes from the philosophy of the Zionist kibbutz autonomous zones. Now, I think there was one part of the garden where they had said, "Oh, this is only for like black people or people, natives, blah blah blah." I think she's talking about that, and she's comparing the gardens to the Zionists, because the Zionists are using only gardens for Jewish people in Palestine. The problem I have with this is when you start comparing people who are anti-fascist or people who are really leftist and who are against the government to fascists or Nazis, it is a very dangerous thing, because now everybody that protests the current status quo could be pushed out against that. And a lot of people that aren't in America, that aren't going to these protests, that aren't seeing what's happening, they may have a great outlook on foreign policy, but they don't really know what's happening right now on the ground here. And here's the truth. So this is Kshama Sawant, and she spoke about what was happening in Gaza. She clarified what they feel, because they've been attacked and told that they're a bunch of Zionists, which is, trust me, these lefty socialist people, they're so pro-Palestine, you can't even like it. Very much. I'm very much so. And she starts talking about that, and at the very, very end, she basically had said back she had said, "Thank you for expressing your views, council member." And this is Kshama Sawant. And this is where she clarified her stance on the Israel-Palestine conflict, which I think it's decent, but it doesn't even go as far as I would go. She said, "Just for the record, I would like to remind everyone that in my statement, I condemn both sides and I don't condone violence of any kind. That is my opinion. I think it's necessary for us to acknowledge the complete lack of proportion between the violence that Hamas is capable of and the violence that has been inflicted by the Israeli state on Palestine." And that's my view. And a lot of people are trying to say that these people that Kshama Sawant led into this area, and if you guys don't know what it is, it's basically an area that's pushed, it's kind of like capped off from Capitol Hill in Seattle. You know, Capitol Hill where Jeff Bezos' shit is and all that. It's one of the more expensive areas of Seattle, and they basically created this zone where police can't go to. So that's basically all it is, and it's just a safety zone where the police can't come in. And I told Pasta I'm moving there. And so the reality is very different. So I'm going to read some of the people who have been there and what they're saying compared to what the media is putting out. They're calling them anarchists. They're calling them Antifa. And this is from Taylor, a showcase of solidarity and humanity in Capitol Hill. And she just has a bunch of pictures. They basically just have food, fruit. It's kind of like a little socialist sort of haven. And it's very peaceful. There really isn't any violence. It says, "Welcome to CHOP, Capitol Hill Occupied Protests. Please stay, enjoy your stay." Then they have pretty much a mural there in the middle of the city. And then they just have a bunch of people. You can go in there. Anybody can go in there. And this is this person right here. I just want to read their tweet. And they said, "If you are protesting or helping hold or build a community around CHOP Seattle, please post what you see. We need to combat the spread of misinformation that the MAGA 20 bigots are driving. We're peaceful and it's a hard pill to swallow." So again, it's this whole idea that these people are not peaceful. It's this whole idea that they're these Antifa people. And there's this gentleman there that got interviewed by this the stranger.com, and he was talking about the gardens. And he's explaining here that what we heard, Johnny, at the protest in Hollywood, where a lot of black people are trying to really since reparations aren't happening, they're basically trying to get more investment in black businesses because there's not that many, and those small businesses are suffering a lot. Farming is one way of doing that, and so they're trying to farm and kind of show that, this is what we need to do. This is what we're going to start growing our own food. We're going to start investing in our own communities. And some people are taking that as being segregationist. I don't think so, because it's a protest. You're in a city where you're protesting what's happening on the outside. So really, it's not something that is employed at a federal or even state level. It is something that they're protesting. They're protesting police brutality. And I don't really see a problem with that. I don't get triggered by it because I don't see... they're protesting. And there is this video here. They're building more infrastructure for farms. So they're trying to create this sort of self-sufficient little thing. But it's
socialist utopia of sorts.
Not even. It's more of a protest zone, if anything.
Yeah.
And we have our friend Larry Alger
trying to figure out what's going on there. I want to know what's actually going on in there. Because we see a lot of this stuff going on, but I mean, the whole mentality of saying not letting cops in, is that kind of triggering some type of tragic action, like some type of event, some type of...
Why would they let cops in if they're protesting cops?
I understand that, but by saying we're not letting cops in, it seems like you're trying to maybe cause an event, to cause something to happen. When you're saying don't come in here...
I don't agree with that. They're protesting because the cops did I don't know if you saw the part where the cops tear gassed them and violated the Geneva Convention.
I know.
Right.
I know
so
that.
That's kind of why they're not. And they're not fond of the flag. So they were like, hey, you don't come in here with your flag as an agitator and try to rile up some shit by bringing in your flag. I mean, it's a protest. You're not supposed to be welcoming of the police in your protests. I don't really see what the problem is. But denying the police
coming in, it seems like you're going to cause a situation where they're going to come in.
It's a protest. I don't understand why it's such a big deal. And so they're protesting that. And here, I just wanted to put what somebody else said in response to Syrian girl's tweets. They said, I follow and support you, but you're wrong about Seattle. I live here. My daughter is active in the zone. There are no trained Antifa. Cops spent a week shooting, gassing, and macing BLM protesters, and then abandoned the precinct thinking they'd burn it down. They didn't. So the cops thought that they would burn it down. They declared it was a free zone, set up places for homeless to live, protected the precinct from harm, and are meeting daily to create a workable space. Don't believe the hype. It's peaceful. Kids walk around and hand out free food. There are no terrorists here. You have been lied to. And this is, again, the propaganda that we see a lot of people swallow, because a lot of people always want to go to, well, George Soros funds Antifa, so George Soros must be behind this. And like, George Soros doesn't fucking run the world, you guys. I mean, you can have your issues with George Soros. He's not somebody I trust. But at the same time, you can't just automatically go to George Soros is behind every single little fucking thing that goes on in the world. And that's what I have a huge problem with. And I think, it's just dangerous, because when you're connecting people like Hitler and Nazis to socialists, which is what a lot of the right and some of the Democrats have done, it's like it's just like you're connecting all the Jews to the Zionists and the Zionists into anti-fascists. Not all are alike, and not everybody's a monolith. We need to stop doing that. And I think a lot of the right and some of the neoliberals are trying to do just that, because they don't want to see this insurgency happen.
Well, what you put up that last tweet too as well, it explains a little bit different, because I thought they threw the cops out and said no cops in here. The cops abandoned the place, and they were like, okay, fine, we're going to set up shop here. We're not going to burn it down. So that gives a lot of more detail of what's going on.
And that's why I want to go there. And I know we have Larry there, and he's going to send us more footage. Move there? But yes, I want to live in Seattle. But aside from Seattle, I would like to visit CHOP so I can report, because what a lot of people are on the ground are saying is that the media is maligning them yet again. And I tend to take their word, because I saw what was happening here with the mainstream media and how they were maligning the protesters. And why? Because the mainstream media gets more views and more clicks the more tension they see between people. And that's what they want to see. But they're over here saying we're peaceful. We're just protesting. We created this sort of area. And, these are people that are our movement people here. They're just trying to say something, that if things were more like this, the world would be better. And I don't really see the harm in that.
Well, as long as they're not listen, I get fearful that they'll be antagonizing law officials to come in there by saying you're not allowed in here. That's where you get the Trumps, where the shooting starts, the looting starts, that kind of mentality. Well, he will go in there, and I've heard people say it's like a block party, guys. It's like a farmer's market meets a block party.
It is
That's what it is. You know what I'm saying? And now when you provide information saying listen, they abandoned that area, and the people were like, we're not going to burn it down. We're just going to take it over then. And where there's kids handing out food. It's like this kind of socialist mentality where we're taking care of each other. We're farming. We're living off the land. There's a lot of things to be learned by that. And, I just hope for the safety of everybody there. Larry, get back to us. Larry, tell us what's going on. You're on the ground there. And, guys, thank you for the Super Chat contribution. You're helping send fee to CHOP.
Chop wood.
Chop wood. Fam, anything else? We got almost 300 people watching.
Nope.
Johnny, you got anything else to finish this up with? All right, guys. So you know the format. We post the whole live stream up on our ROKFIN and on our Patreon. So thank you to all your Patreons.
Yes.
And thank you to all who have joined ROKFIN. If you haven't joined up, go on over, ROKFIN. If you can endorse us for $9.99 a month, that would really help out. And you'll get all the premium content across the board, including Graham Elwood's, Ron Pacone's, Jimmy Doer's, Nico House, Kim Iverson's.
Everybody.
Tina, we love you. I'm not forgetting you this time. Status Quo. Not Quo. And all that stuff. We can also we'll also be putting back up on our YouTube, shareable clips from each show. So you can take that out. You can share it on Facebook with your good friend Zimmer and all those other people. So that's the new format. That's how we're doing it nowadays.
Who's
so
Zimmer?
George Zimmerman, right?
Oh.
No, George Zuckerberg. Mark Zuckerberg.
Okay. George Zimmerman is...
Yeah, Mark Zuckerberg, that piece of crap. Anyways, so that's it we got for today. Listen, tomorrow we're going to have a lot of interviews. Who do you got tomorrow?
You have Brent Turner.
I have Brent Turner.
Johnny has Raji Raj.
Johnny has Raji Rob. So, what's that? I'm not. So tomorrow's shows are really important because it's about election integrity.
Yeah.
Johnny's going to talk about what's going on with Raji Rob. It's amazing, his story. He's in the courtrooms right now once the courtrooms open back up. So Johnny and I have been doing a lot of work on it. Johnny especially So he's going to bring to you what's going on with Raji Rob and what the main problems are.
He's been like crazy with all these papers everywhere and like looking.
Yeah. No, he's been doing like the "It's a Beautiful Mind" stapled on the board everywhere.
Yeah, I'm kind of concerned. I don't know.
I love it because he's getting into the nitty gritty of it. I'm going to have on Brent Turner. Brent Turner is an open source specialist. He knows about who owns these machines, what's going on, some solutions. He's sometimes criticized in the election integrity world, but I think that he's looking at one of the most important parts of this whole thing.
I tend to be suspect of machines in general. I tend to be one of those paper ballot people. So I'd like to hear what he has to say.
And he's even one of those people who says, yes, I would rather go to hand counting than have any proprietary software. But he believes the answer is, and a lot of people do too, that open source software owned by the people where we have the source and code, we can look inside, we have all access to it. It's not owned by a private company, which is just another kind of like coyote company of another shadow band company of another company, where you don't even know who owns the company, who owns these machines. And we're talking about all the machines across the country. So that's coming tomorrow. And then Wednesday, we'll be back with the regular show. So anything else?
No.
Let's get on out of here. For Pasta Jardula,
Fiorella,
Johnny Sue on the 1s and 2s.
Convo out.
Thank y'all.